What we'd like to do is play a little clip for you from a false teacher and then expose it for what it is, and that is heresy, or as some people like to say, Hershey. In order to do that, today I'd like to do something a little bit different, if you don't mind. I would like to have you be the judge. That's right.
You be the judge.
Sometimes known as...
You be the host.
Also known as...
Todd's being lazy.
So here we go. Here's the clip. You call in and you tell me what is wrong with this. Oh, what's the name of this fellow? Hold on a second. Sorry. Well, let me just play the clip for you. I can't find who this guy is. But nonetheless, I want you to call in and tell everybody what's the problem. And for your troubles and for your woes, you will get two things. One, the satisfaction of being a benefit to the body. Two, we will give you tickets to the Bill Harley Marriage Faith Builder Seminar happening Saturday, November 15th. We'll give you a couple of tickets, happily, to see Bill Harley at noon at Emmanuel Christian Center, November 15th. Here's the number, 651-405-8800. Here is the clip. Don't forget.
You be the judge.
You're going to just...
When I first got saved, they didn't tell me I could do anything. What they told me to do is that whenever I prayed, I should always say the will of the Lord be done. Now, doesn't that sound humble? It does. Sounds like humility. It's really stupidity. I mean, you really, we insult God. I mean, we really do insult our Heavenly Father. We do. We really insult Him without even realizing it. If you have to say that, if it be thy will or thy will be done, if you have to say that, then you're calling God a fool.
Boy, is that offensive. Can anybody remember who exactly was the person, if you will, who prayed, not my will, but thine be done? And another thing, can you just see where this heresy, I'm sorry, did I say heresy, where this Hershey is going? Can you just see?
You be the judge.
651-681-8255, 651-681-8255. Paul, hi.
The problem with this whole thing that you just played is we are to pray for God's will. I did a fabulous study on the book of Daniel, and Dr. David Jeremiah is doing the study. And he talked about how the people in the Old Testament prayed, and it really hit me. We should all pray before we read our Bible, just for understanding and so forth. But he said if you look at the saints of the Old Testament, especially Daniel, they read the Scriptures and then they prayed the Scriptures. They prayed God's will that is coming through the Scriptures. And that really gripped me when Daniel was in captivity, and he read that they were only going to be in captivity for a little while longer. And he prayed, Lord, keep your covenant, and don't not keep your covenant. I mean, he prayed with fervency, and he prayed God's will through the Word. And that really struck me.
Yeah, and besides that, the model that we follow here, I mean, that is such, the most direct text that I can think of, too, is, of course, when Jesus prayed that this cup would pass from him. Nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done, submitting to the will of the Father, is always how every prayer should be prayed. Because even if it's what we think is in alignment with God's will, might not be in alignment with His grand plan. And so we always have to submit ourselves that way. But Paul, all right, thank you very much for your phone call, by the way.
Sure.
Okay, take care. So the question that I have for you,
it's Hershey time.
Where's a blasphemy like this going? Where's a blasphemy like this going? 651-681-8255. Where does a theology like this ultimately go? Can you?
When I first got saved, they didn't tell me I could do anything. What they told me to do is that whenever I prayed, I should always say the will of the Lord be done. Now, doesn't that sound humble?
Biblical.
Sounds like humility.
Biblical.
It's really stupidity.
Just called Jesus stupid, by the way.
I mean, you really, we insult God. I mean, we really do insult our Heavenly Father. We do. We really insult Him without even realizing it. If you have to say that, if it be thy will or thy will be done, if you have to say that, then you're calling God a fool.
A couple of points on that, if you don't mind. If you ever hear a preacher, first of all, this one is not heretical, but if you ever hear a preacher get really loud It could mean one of two things. One is he really has a great point that he wants to bang into your head. The other reason a preacher gets loud when he preaches is because he has a weak point. And it's an old preacher's trick that when you've got yourself a weak point, just deliver it like it's that's just dynamite, and then people won't realize that what you're preaching is pretty fluffy. It's a little preacher's trick, nothing heretical about it. Another little preacher's trick is if you've got something that you want to convince somebody of that you have absolutely new evidence for, you should probably repeat it a few times. Did you hear him? He was like, you are. You really, I mean, you are. When you do that, you're insulting God. You're insulting God, because that's just an insult to God. Little nervous tick, pal. Reminds me of Susan, Mrs. Friel to me, tells a story about her sister when she was a kid. Mom heard something going on upstairs, and she yells up, "What is going on up there?" And her sister yelled back, "I'm not playing in your makeup." Same thing with this guy, repeating it 3-4 times, little nervous tick to indicate, look out, heresy coming your way. Where this is ultimately going is the same place that this goes for all of these false teachers that we've been hearing, and they're all into prosperity. Typical mark of a false teacher. You can read about it. 1 Peter talks about it. 1 Timothy talks about it. 2 Timothy talks about it. You've got yourself a false teacher. Because what this guy wants to encourage you to do is don't ask for God's will to be done, but you tell God what to do, because you have the ability to do that, and He'll give you what you want. So don't ask that His will be done. Oh no, you just tell Him what you want. Because it's what is that smell? Oh yeah. It's money. It's always about money.